up, everybody? KC Tailgater Show is back for Season 3. I know it's been a long time since we talked to y'all. I feel like that's a broken record at this point. But we're back. We're ready to go. I'm Jordan Anderson. With me, as always, my guy. Welcome him back, Marcus Baker. Marcus, how we doing?
Oh, dude, so hyped to be back. It's been a long absence for both of us. A lot of things going on individually, personal lives, good and bad. Got married. Jordan's got a new special lady in his life. I've secured mine for the future, so we're doing good on the personal end. Had some multiple things, health, and just his parent life.
I feel like that was forever ago. It's really like it feels. We haven't talked to anybody in forever, but it feels like that was forever ago. But
yeah,
it's just it's good to be back. I'm glad to be talking football. Chiefs are back. It's been a long summer, but ready to get going. We're going to give you guys the game recap from that Washington preseason game. Got some good things. Got some kind of, I wouldn't say necessarily bad things, but a couple things we saw. We were actually at the game, sitting pretty close, so we kind of got a firsthand view at things like that. So we're going to talk to you guys about that. We're going to talk about some surprise cuts, guys we think might be on the bubble, and look at some of those key spots on offense and defense that could be your last guy standing. So without further ado, Marcus, let's go ahead and dive into it. I want to talk about that Washington game. We were there, sweating to death with the sun on us. As you guys can see, still, that tan line, pretty crazy. It doesn't look as bad as it did at the game, but it's still, it was a good game all in all. Jody Fortson back.
Looks like it.
He looked pretty good. We saw that touchdown right in our end zone. Got both feet down, but I don't know, man. He's looking good. Kelsey looked good. Mahomes looked good as always. I think he's only had 6 incomplete passes through the first 2 preseason games. Granted, they don't play a ton, but I think Andy Reid plays his starters more than a lot of people do, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
But, he looked good. Justin Watson looked good. We'll talk about him here in just a little bit. But what are some of your key takeaways from the game?
I think the big thing's just the offense is what the offense was. It looks a little different. We're spreading the ball out. It's not push to Tyreek, push to Travis. It's Kelsey hasn't even really got that many receptions in comparison to previous years. We're moving the ball around, spreading it around. We've seen a lot of guys like Fortson that you mentioned this last game. Noah Gray had some impact the previous. Just Justin Watson. The emergence of Justin Watson's probably been one of the coolest things to see with this skill position group this offseason. Because he's a guy, the talent's always been there. He's in a spot over in Tampa to where he's just so far down, he's not getting any opportunity with AB being there and Godwin and Evans and all those guys. Well, come to Kansas City, and at the time, when the offseason starts, it doesn't look like there may be a big opportunity anyways, and then Tyreek Hill situation happens, and Robinson ends up over where he's at, and we bring in Juju, and Juju gets a little banged up with that knee situation, and now Watson's got an opportunity to be in there with the ones and play some consistent snaps, and he's making the best of the opportunity. So, I don't know. He was impressive. Fortson was impressive. I think Chiefs Kingdom as a whole is overreacting a little bit to the run game struggles. I think on 30 carries, they have 45 yards. But it's preseason. At the end of the day, I'm going to lean on that front 5. We've got some dogs in there. You look at OBJ, you look at Tooney, Creed, Smith, and then the revolving door at right tackle, which seems to be kind of slamming shut with Andrew Wiley, who's an average to a little bit below guy. And I think Niang coming back in the fold here in a few weeks, hopefully, can help the Chiefs. Hopefully October at the latest we'll see some Niang on the field, or at least got some pads on. So I don't know. I'm a little worried about the depth at the position, but we'll dive into that a little bit more. But all in all, offense looked good. Willie Gay's a monster, very fast. Karlaftis has looked phenomenal. As advertised, if not even better. Bobby Stroop, or Strope, however you pronounce it, Pat's trainer. He's been working with Karlaftis a lot in the offseason, and there's a little bit of athleticism there that didn't show up as much at Purdue. And I don't know, maybe if he just wasn't utilizing it or if it wasn't there yet. But regardless, he's producing snap-to-snap basis, and that's really what you want out of a first-round pick. If he can come in and be a consistent guy we can rely on, and we see the reemergence of Frank Clark dropping 35 pounds, looks faster and speedier than he has his time in Kansas City, in my opinion. If all those things come together, you get a Carlos Dunlap guy to come in and use his length and past success production-wise in the pass rush. I think we're in a good spot. The defensive line, Danny Shelton, mammoth of a man, they're putting it together. It's taken some time, and there's been some moments in, uncertainty. But as time progresses, hopefully Juju can get healthy. That's a big thing, I think, for this offense. But as time goes on, we're getting more and more comfortable, I think, you and I both, with what we're going to put out on the field come September 11th there in Arizona. So looking forward to it and just happy to be back, excited to talk some more football. And all in all, it was a fun game, and I was glad to be able to spend it with you and your girlfriend and me and my wife, of course, and we had a blast. It was a memory we'll have forever, and preseason's preseason, but that tailgating, it don't matter if it's August 1st or September 11th. That tailgating's the same. So I had a blast, enjoyed it, looking forward to what the season's going to bring for us.
Same. Yeah, for sure. Less crowded at preseason games, too, which, it's a little better. You're not shoulder to shoulder with everybody. But it was hot. I had to go to the team shop and buy myself a tank. And I'm not usually a tank guy, but tell you what, it worked out and had a good time other than the sunburn. But
dropped $7 on a frozen lemonade. Usually not something I'd be on board to do, but it was too hot.
Yeah, it was. But no, I want to go back. You mentioned the run game and how you think people might be overreacting to that. I get that to a point. I think people are overreacting a bit. The funniest things I've seen on Twitter is people from the general public thinking they can just go gain 5 yards to carry against NFL defenses. No, that's not going to happen. But no, I think what it comes down to is, I can't speak for Clyde because Clyde's been in this offense for 3 years now. There's really no excuse for Clyde. The other guys, they're all new, the running backs in particular, but I feel like they just need to learn to trust their offense. Everyone's riding on Isaiah Pacheco right now because of one missed hole he had when he took a handoff. You got to remember that guy came from Rutgers. They run more counter and more gap or zone gap runs than anyone in the country. And Rutgers is not really known for their offensive line, so he's not used to being able to trust an offensive line. I think that comes with experience. That comes with more snaps. Things like that, so I'm not too worried about that. So, I do agree with you there that people are kind of overreacting to that. Give him some time. He's looked great in camp so far. Unfortunately, we didn't get to go this year, but that's all the word we've heard is that he's just had an outstanding camp. Ronald Jones we'll get into here in just a little bit on that. Derek Gore actually sent to IR yesterday to get the roster cut down to what it needed to be. Blake Bell, I think, also on the IR with hip injury as well. But we'll talk about positions and those bottom guys here in just a little bit. I wanted to dive in on Sky Moore real quick. Do you feel like the Chiefs, I don't know if they're hiding Sky Moore and what he can do, or if they're just not using him right? Because if you remember back when Tyreek Hill was a rookie, we kind of had that same opinion that they weren't using him right. They didn't know where to put him because of his size. There's been videos of him in the backfield at training camp. However, we've only seen him really in the slot. I know Mahomes targeted him on a deep ball early in the game. I think, first 5 minutes of the first quarter, I think. Deep pass down the middle, got broken up. But are they just not using him right? Or what do you think?
I think it's a combination. I think this is a young guy, and he looks like a young guy. When it comes to facing real live snaps and real competition, he looks like a young guy. The route running's there, the contact balance through his bumps and staying on his route, not getting knocked off his route, that's there. So those things are going to translate. If he can adjust to the speed of the game, we know he can handle physicality. He runs really good routes for a young guy. It's going to come with time. I don't know if him and Pat are on that same page yet. They're getting there, I believe, and I think that's about 40% of it, and then I'd say probably 60% of it is keeping our cards close to our chest. That's how Andy is. You look at they're running very vanilla schemes. You're seeing a lot of heavy concept. You're seeing a lot of I formation. The Chiefs don't run that. We're not seeing a lot of pre-snap motion like normal. This is a vanilla, basic high school offense, and the Chiefs have been methodically destroying back end. I mean, they're not elite, and I can admit that. It's back end defenses. The Bears have lost a lot of pieces. Roquan Smith isn't out there on the field right now because of his contract situation. They lose a guy like Akeem Hicks. Eddie Jackson's getting older. Like that defense is fading with time. And Washington didn't have Chase Young. But that's still a very solid unit up front. And that was another thing, too, with the run game. I'm not panicked with the run game because you're running into one of the most stout defensive lines in terms of against the run in the league. I mean, they got Deron Payne. They got Jonathan Allen. Montez Sweat's out there on the edge. We're running into legit talent. Jamin Davis, one of my favorite linebackers out of the class that he came out of. So, but you look at the pass game. The pass game's clicked on all cylinders in both games against back half defenses. I don't know. I would say Washington's probably middle of the pack this year. Top end if Chase Young goes crazy. If he has an amazing year and Sweat puts up close to double-digit sacks, they might have a real good season. And Jonathan Allen's one of the top. I would say he's probably the most underrated defensive lineman in the game. I think he's a top 4 or 5 defensive tackle. He's up there with the Chris Jones, Cam Haywards, guys of that nature. So nobody's Aaron Donald. I don't put Aaron Donald in the conversation with anyone because there's a gap.
Yeah,
there really is. He's the Lawrence Taylor to a Derek Thomas. There's a gap. I love DT. He's one of the greatest to ever do it, but it's not the same player. I don't think DT was he was an animal from a production standpoint, but I don't think he was a bad dude. LT wanted to hurt you. Like, he was a bad dude, and it carried with him in his personal life after football, and I don't know if he's still that way, but it is what it is. Donald's a different class, but all in all, I just think with Sky Moore, to get back to your original question, I think it's going to get there. It's just, what are we hiding? I don't think we're showing our cards. We're running very vanilla concepts, and we're trying to avoid injury. He's not getting the amount of snaps that I think we may see in the regular season. You're putting guys like Watson, guys like Fountain, guys like Powell out there to prove themselves. Watson's done it. The other two, not so much. Fountain's been hurt, and Powell, I don't know. Dan Harms is a big Powell guy, and I was on board in the beginning, but as time goes on, I get further and further off of that bandwagon with Powell because, I mean, like, over the middle, wide open, green grass in front of you, and you drop the ball. You got to catch that. Like, your job's on the line. But all in all, I'm excited for Sky Moore. I think he's got all the tools and talent to be successful, and he's a perfect fit for this scheme. I think he can kind of take over the jet sweep stuff that we do with McCole. I think McCole can fade away from that a little bit, even though he's great at it. Like, I still want him to do it, but I think Sky can also take those. So looking forward to the motion being integrated more and the versatility on our play calling, which will come September 11th. I don't doubt that at all. So
while we're on the topic of receivers, let's go ahead and talk about that because that's one of the positions that, you know, people are always battling for, trying to get that last spot. It's up for grabs. Your locks right now, you've got Juju, MVS, you've got Sky Moore, you've got McCole Hardman, you got Justin Watson. I'm pretty sure is going to be on the field. He's with the ones. He came out with the ones. He's been practicing with the ones. I think Justin Watson's your 5. Could be your 4 or your 3, depending on the injury situation. But who's that 6th guy? You've got Josh Gordon. You've got Darius Fountain. You've got Cornell Powell. Who's the odd man out? Or who's the odd man out, I should say.
It's tough because it all depends on how they look at Josh Gordon in my eyes. The scary thing about Gordon is that 6th spot, you've got to have some special teams value, I think, to contribute to this roster. Gordon isn't going to play it. He's just not going to. He's not in that phase of his career. He's an older guy, dealt with some injury issues as well as off the field stuff, but I just don't think he's that guy. I think Fountain probably, if he isn't banged up, has the inside track to be that guy at the 6th spot because he does provide that special teams. But his special team snaps were down too. A guy that's
What do you think about Corey Coleman?
That's what I was getting ready to say. A guy that's a dark horse for me is Corey Coleman in that 6th spot because he does provide that return ability. He provides special teams value across the board. I think maybe in that spot you've got to go with a guy that's not a Cornell Powell, that's not a Josh Gordon, because the upside's there on the receiving end, but at this point, I mean, you're 5 deep at legitimate receiving options, in my opinion. Plus, you look at the tight end position. I think this year we could unlock some special things with that 3 tight end set. With Fortson fully healthy, Noah Gray seems to be taking that step a little bit. It's a mismatch nightmare in the red zone. We've got 3 quality pass-catching tight ends that are going to be a threat when you're in that spot 20 yards and in. So I look forward to it. I think if we use Fortson correctly in unison with Kelsey, we could be almost unstoppable with the height that we now have with MVS and Juju. The red zone offense for this team could be completely unstoppable with the arm of 15 and the way that he can dot the ball and pinpoint accuracy. I'm interested to see how it goes because Andy's been unwilling to throw jump balls in this offense since he's arrived in Kansas City, and we've had guys. I mean, you look at Alex's first couple of years with Dwayne Bowe here. That's something Dwayne Bowe could do. We still didn't do it. So the height's there, the jumping ability and vertical's there. Let's just see if they do it in the red zone.
Yeah, like I said, we've only got, 1 more week or 2 more weeks, I think, until final cuts are supposed to be made. So looking forward to seeing what guys – I mean, this game against the Packers coming up is really going to be the game that, decides the futures for a lot of these guys. They're going to play with their all. They're going to give it their all. That's tomorrow night.
Yeah, it really is.
Unfortunately, I'm going to Morgan Wallen concert with my lady, so I will not be in attendance watching the game at home, but
I got scammed on my ticket, so I won't be going. Be aware of Facebook ads, people. Don't go Facebook.
The score throughout and keeping tabs on who's doing what. But moving on to running backs, we'll go ahead and get through the offense, and then we'll move over to the defense, more along in the secondary, things like that. I think the defensive line is pretty set, but running backs. It's pretty traditional of the Chiefs to keep 4, including the fullback, Burton, who obviously is going to make the team. So really it's just your 3 running backs. And what you have left, you've got Clyde, you have Ronald Jones, you have Isaiah Pacheco, and you have Fleet Davis.
Yeah.
Who, showed flashes. He scored after that turnover we got against Washington, but do you really think he has the leverage over Ronald Jones? Because
no, I don't.
I don't know, man. I've heard nothing but negative things out of camp about Ronald Jones. I guess yesterday he had a great practice, and they said not to count him out yet, but you really haven't seen much on the field either. I don't know if it's just because he's a veteran, he's not playing much, but he's just been practicing with the 3s. So I'm not really sure on a confidence level that you can even slide him in there. But then again, with Derek Gore going out with a thumb injury for the entire year, you almost have to keep him, right? Or try to trade for another?
See, it's tough because I don't think with a guy with that level of NFL experience and snaps under his belt and the type of runner that he is, he's got that big playability, or he has had in the past. I don't know necessarily if it's still there. We can't tell at this point if his decline in terms of reps is from a decline in play or if it's just opportunity-based or what. But this is also a guy that you know what you have. He's not a pass-catching back. He's your between-the-tackles guy that if he gets a hole, he can make a play out of it. That's what he was in Tampa. That's what he'll be here. So I wonder also if it's not a curiosity, from the coaching staff standpoint, because they don't know what they have in Pacheco. They don't necessarily know what's there fully in Derek Gore. CEH, yes. McKinnon, yes. But these guys that have a defined role, the preseason's not really for them. The preseason's for the Fleet Davises and the Derek Gores and a guy like Pacheco that's a rookie. So it's tough because if I'm getting Ronald Jones from Tampa Bay 2 years back, I want him on this roster. That simple. Because A, Clyde's health, B, McKinnon's durability. We've seen over time, and it's the same thing, but they are different because Clyde seemed to be chronic issues. Oh, I had to have this operation, or it's not as much like being banged up. He's had some health stuff, kind of similar to Frank. And didn't he have a gallbladder surgery or some appendicitis? It was something along those lines last season. And he's just been banged up off and on. McKinnon's had that severe knee injury while he was, I believe, in Minnesota, and then I think he might have had another one in San Francisco. So you're worried about durability and health from each of these guys. And it's like Pacheco, we don't know what that is.
McKinnon. I completely forgot about McKinnon.
No, you're good. A late addition, but a guy you bring in because you know what you got there. He's your guy that's going to catch passes, and he had juice in the playoffs. He was our best pure runner in the playoffs, and I think if we get past Cincinnati, we may be talking completely different about Jared McKinnon because he was running the ball well through the playoffs. I think Clyde looked phenomenal in the Cincinnati game. We just stopped running the ball. Clyde looked the best I think I'd seen him look since his rookie year against was it Houston? We opened the season and he had like 100-plus all-purpose yards. I think it was Houston. But that was the best I'd seen Clyde look as a pure runner. He looked healthy. And then we come into this year, and we've got EB talking about Clyde's conditioning, talking about, Clyde's banged up or this and that. It's so annoying because I think if Clyde's a second or third round pick, the narrative on him throughout Chiefs Kingdom is completely different. But with that investment comes expectation, and he hasn't met those. Even for me, I'm a guy that's very optimistic on Clyde. I think we've misused him throughout his career. I don't think they put him in the best scheme to run the ball effectively between the tackles and whatnot, and they don't use him like they should in the pass game. I think he has the ability to have that Darrell Williams from last year impact in the pass game, and we haven't used him that way. Maybe even more so. But it's tough because Clyde doesn't have that second gear. He doesn't have that breakaway speed. He's a guy that you're going to have to rely on in shorter bursts, but the annoying thing is he struggled in short yardage because of his size. So it's frustrating because I feel like they took a flyer on a guy that had all this potential in the pass game and then have never used him in the pass game, and it's super frustrating. But overall, I think Ronald Jones is a guy that has the talent, and they may just be waiting to see. But tomorrow night's going to be the end-all, be-all of it. He's going to be able to get some run and some work with that first-team offensive line because I guarantee you Andy will put the first-team guys out for at least a couple series. He always does with the O-line. And if I'm Andy, Rojo's the first running back to touch the ball. And let's go. We'll put you behind these guys, and if you've got it, you've got it. And if you don't, you're done. Because at the end of the day, that's a bigger contract than we're going to be putting out for a guy like even McKinnon, I think. I think Jones got a solid deal. And I don't know if it's fully guaranteed. Like Jermaine Carter, perfect example at the linebacker position. His contract's fully guaranteed. He's looked terrible. He looks slower than Hitchens in the 53.
Yeah.
I had flashbacks last week in person. He's trying to chase down the ball carrier. I thought Hitchens was on the field. Just like the lack of athleticism and burst is glaring, but he's guaranteed money, so almost guaranteed that they're going to keep him. If that's not the case with Rojo and he doesn't show anything tomorrow night, I think you got to cut ties with him and let him go. And if you're worried about it, look at a guy. There's going to be people that come available. Look at like Kenyon Drake over in Las Vegas. Guys are going to come available that have starting caliber talent or experience. And at the end of the day, you can't make a move on a guy because you like him. You got to do what's best for the team long term and throughout the season. And I'm worried about the running backs. I'm worried about the offensive line depth. I'm worried about DBs. There's multiple things, but I think Rojo's got it in him. It's just, is he going to show it? So
for sure. Well, we got about 7 minutes left here on our welcome back episode. So I want to move to the defensive ball before we get off. I want to talk about corners first. I think safety position is pretty locked up. What we're going to do there. Corners, though. It's going to be between Chris Lamons, DiCaprio Boodle. I think those are your two real, possibilities to be that sixth guy. You've got Trent McDuffie, you've got Fenton, who's hurt right now. You got L'Jarius Sneed, you have Watson, you have Jalen Williams, who's looked outstanding.
Josh
Williams, yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
I think it's Jalen Watson. And then
Jalen Watson.
Yes,
yep.
Okay, so got them mixed up.
You're good.
But no, they both look decent. Trent McDuffie, people are dogging him for some reason, but he's only been thrown at twice all preseason. That's what you want, right? Like you don't want him to get torched. I mean, he's been thrown at twice. He's given up one catch for 5 yards. I'll take that all day. So,
yep.
I mean, say what you want. Obviously, he's looked good, or he'd be thrown at more. Yeah, he's going to get tested during the regular season, and I'm hoping he gets the opportunity to shine. But who between Lamons and Boodle, I mean, they've both shown flashes. Who do you give the edge to?
it's interesting because it's all about what you value more. I think in my head I value the corner position and what you can provide defensively more. But you look at it, I mean, it's tough because with Boodle, I think he's definitely the superior cover guy.
I think he's a superior tackler also.
Yeah.
He was all over the field.
With Lemons, that's more special teams value. He's your guy. But this is the interesting part to me. I think this will be the what do you want to say, tail of the tape or whatever you want to call it. If they keep Zane Anderson, I don't think they keep Lemons. If they keep Lemons, I don't think they keep Zane Anderson. So he had some miscues last year on special teams, but if they like him, which I think they do because he has Dan Sorensen-esque appearance to him and stylistically how he's presented himself. I mean, he made some major mistakes last year, and it's going to always kind of tarnish his viewpoint, being only a special teams guy with the fan base. But you got to also weigh in what's going on off the field with Lemons. If it's something with that Alvin Kamara situation, if it's something where he gets convicted, you wasted a spot. And there's no guarantee that Zane Anderson's going to be there when that time comes. I'm hoping they put him on the practice squad and there's no issue. But if it's me, I think our safeties are going to end up being Reed, Thornhill, of course, as the primary starters. And then early in the season, I think Deion Bush will be third with Brian Cook fourth, and I think those will flip come about week 6 or 7. Just let Cook get a little bit more under him. Cook's one of my favorite additions to this entire team. He was in the top 4 or 5 safeties for me in this class. I love his physicality. Very, very gifted intellectually. His instincts for the ball, his instincts to make plays were on tape almost every time you put it on there at Cincinnati. So I like Cook a lot. Very physical tackler. I think he's a guy that could replace those big plays. And that's the thing with Sorensen. Last year it ended so bad, but he was the worst clutchest player I've ever seen before that. You could not hear his name one time in a positive way the whole game. But Phillip Rivers is marching him down the field to win the game, and here's 49 out of nowhere with a game-sealing pick. Like, he was that guy. I think Cook has that ability. Oh, you haven't seen me except maybe on 1 or 2 good open field tackles, but I'm going to jump the route and pick the ball off to win the football game. I think Cook has that ability in his future, and I think him, Thornhill, and Reed are going to be a really nice safety trio moving forward with the way that Spags like to use the safety position in his defense. But with the corner, I think I'm going to go Lemons because I think end-all be-all Dave Tobe gets his guys on this roster, and that's what it's going to come down to for these bubble guys. Chris Lemons, in my opinion, probably Darius Fountain if he's healthy. If it's not Fountain, I think Corey Coleman's that 6th guy. It's just every spot you see, those final guys, linebacker, I think Elijah Lee and Harris are the guys because they provide special teams value. Carter, we may keep a larger amount of linebackers than normal because of that guaranteed money, but I would almost just cut ties and eat the cost because he doesn't provide anything on the field, in my opinion. He's too slow to play special teams, and he's really too slow to play pass coverage. So he's just another guy that's going to come in and kind of fill what I think Leo Chanel's role will be, that Reggie Ragland run, stop, heavier package defensively. So I don't know. I think it's an interesting time to be a Chiefs fan. A lot of uncertainty, a lot of anticipation and excitement. We're underdogs again a little bit. You look at national media, the Chargers are winning this division. The Broncos are going to the Super Bowl. All these things, the Chiefs have been forgotten in the dust because 10's playing in South Beach. I think that's crazy. I think 15's under center, and when 15's under center, we can win any game against any opponent. I think we're the Super Bowl champions reigning if we keep running the ball in the second half of the AFC Championship game last year. And I think Pat's going to come out with a chip on his shoulder, and Travis is, in a way that we've never seen. I think these are guys that are ultimate competitors. They have that, on 8/24, they've got that Mamba mentality. Rest in peace, Kobe, of course, but these guys have that in them. They have that killer instinct, that killer competitiveness. When you count these guys out, they're going to punch you in the mouth and show you otherwise, and I think that's the feel through the whole team. You look at Nick Bolton, silent killer. He's the guy that's going to put his head down, do the work, be a leader. do what he's asked to do, but he's going to hit you in the mouth when the time comes. Willie Gay's the same way. We're building this defense around physicality and youth, and I don't think there's anything more exciting in the game of football. As long as the officials will let us play physical, which that's going to be the biggest hurdle the way we're building this defense. But I'd rather hit him in the mouth and get a flag than not be able to hit him at all. So looking forward to the season. Excited to be back. It's been way too long for both of us, but things have been crazy on both of our ends. But just we appreciate y'all for sticking with us and being patient. I know it's been a long journey, but we're back for season 3. I mean, this is our passion. This is what we love to do, and wouldn't rather be doing anything else on a Wednesday night here at, 9:45 p.m. So.
For sure. All right, guys. Well, that does it for us here on the KC Tailgaters Show. First episode back. It's season 3. We're going to be back every week. It feels good talking football again. I can't tell you how good it feels to be talking football again. Next episode, we're going to talk the schedule. Breakdown. We're a mere 3 weeks away. 3 weeks away from opening day. Chiefs at Arizona. We're going to break down the entire schedule. We're going to talk a little more about Chiefs rookies, who we think is going to have the best season. We might even give you our 53-man projection if we have time for it. But that does it for us here, guys. I'm Jordan Anderson. With me, as always, my guy, Marcus Baker. We'll see you guys down the line.